Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Today we are going to do 12 surahs of the last group of Quranic surahs. All of these surahs are Meccan surahs. These 12 surahs are predictably divided into six surah pairs, and they all have the same one broad theme of bringing people back to realization from their slumber that this life is a trial and it's very soon going to come to an end, and there's another life waiting for them beyond this life, and that life, that day when it's going to begin, is not very far. It's around the corner. So we have already started the discussion on this group. It started from Surah al-Mulk, Surah 67. Today we will start from Surah 75, Surah al-Qiyamah, which together with Surah al-Dahr, they form a pair. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا أقسم بيوم القيامة. No, I swear upon the day of resurrection. We've already seen that the oaths, the swearing in the Quran is meant for one purpose: to present what has been mentioned in the oath as an evidence of what has been claimed in the later part of the statement. So it would therefore be a more appropriate translation to make if we say, no, I present the day of judgment as an evidence. Evidence of what? Evidence of the day of judgment. In other words, what it means is that given the design, the structure of this life, the day of judgment is self-evident. The coming of it does not need any further evidence, argument beyond its own impending, obvious arrival. وَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِالنَّفْسِ اللَّوَّامَةِ. And no, I present as an evidence the reproaching soul, the self-criticizing soul, the human conscience. No here is meant to negate the understanding which the polytheists, the disbelievers, were presenting to negate the possibility of the day of judgment. The Almighty is saying, no, what they're saying is wrong. It is unacceptable. I present as an evidence the day of judgment and its impressive presentation itself. And I present as an evidence human conscience. What is this evidence? The evidence is that humans know that within their personalities there is this reproaching soul, which when we do something evil, we feel bad about it. The conscience pricks. When we do something good, we feel good about it, about what we do and what others do. How is it possible that the one who has created this impressive world that's there around us and is so organized, he would create a life wherein he would himself give us this conscience which keeps giving its judgment about what's happening? Things happening, some of them are good, some of them are evil, and yet there is no clear result that we can see in this world. What is good doesn't get rewarded quite as much as it should, and what is evil doesn't get punished as much as it deserves. So its presence in itself is an evidence of the fact that the one who has given us this conscience is going to make sure that one day the verdicts of this conscience are going to be implemented. أَيَحْسَبُ الْإِنسَانُ وَلَّن نَجْمَعَ عِظَامَهُ. Does man think, this man who is rejecting our message and the possibility of the day of judgment, does he think that we will not be able to assemble bones? That's what people used to say. What are you talking about? There's going to be a day of judgment. How is it possible? After we are all going to be disintegrated and our bones are going to not be the same as before and would be just uh, without any flesh on them. How is it possible that they're going to come back to life? Bala Qadirin, most certainly will be fully competent, capable, ala nusabbiya banana, to put back all human body in its proper proportion, even the fingertips. We'll be able to do it. Bal yuridul insanu liyafjura mama. It's not that these people are not convinced that the day of judgment is not going to come. It's only that humans who want to continue to do evil despite their conscience, despite the reproaching soul. Yasalu ayyana yawmul qiyamah. So he asks, when is the day of judgment going to come? That is, he presents such lame arguments to reject the day of judgment as asking, if you can't tell us the date, why should we believe? So, that kind of foolish argument is presented by the Almighty to just let people of understanding see how weak is their stance. Partnering with this surah is the next surah, which is the Surah Ad-Dahr. This surah is surah number 76. And in this surah too, what we find is that the same subject is being talked about. It says, هل أتى على الإنسان حين من الدهر لم يكن شيئا مذكورا. Has there not come to man a time when he was not something that was worthy of even being mentioned? It had no significance. So, why don't you look at where it all started from as far as your existence is concerned? There was a time when you were not even worth mentioning. Inna khalaqna insan. We created man min nutfatin amshaj, from a sperm drop mixture. Nabtalihi. We we made it to continuously uh, be manipulated. And then فَجَعَلْنَاهُ سَمِيعًا بَصِيرًا. We made him able to hear and able to see. So it really has taken a miraculous process journey for humans to come about, to be what they are. And you know what they are. They can hear, they can see, they can understand. Not only that, Inna Hadainahu Sabil. We guided him to the way. We informed him within his conscience, mentioned in its partner surah, al-Qiyamah, the path of what is right from what is wrong. Then we set him free. Imma shakiram wa imma kafura. It's up to you whether you be grateful or be ungrateful. However, that is not about all. After having given you these options and your conscience, you're going to be held accountable. Inna a'tadna lil kafirina salasila wa aghlalam wa sayira. Indeed, we have prepared for the disbelievers, those people who are evil, and because they are evil, they do not accept the truth coming from God. We have prepared for them salasila, chains, wa aghlalan, and shackles, wa saira, and blazing fire. So this is what the Quran mentions about the day of judgment, and these two surahs together are emphasizing its reality. Then we move on to the next pair, which is 77th and 78th surah. Uh, in surah number 77, which is Al-Mursalat, we find that there are a number of different arguments, evidences presented from human nature, from the nature that is around us, and also from a history of humankind. Whereas in Surah 78, Surah An-Naba, it is primarily the arguments of the Almighty's kindness to humans in the form of um, sustenance that He's providing, the kind of help that the Almighty bestows upon us every day to let us live, survive, thrive. So that's the argument in the next surah. So let's take Surah Mursalat first. In this surah, as I said, quite a few arguments are presented, but I'll refer to the historical argument. The surah says in verse 16, Alam nuhlikil awwalin. Is it not that we've destroyed the former nations who were visited by our messengers? They rejected them, and then they were punished and destroyed. ثُمَّ نُتْبِعُهُمُ الْآخِرِينَ. And then we caused the later nations to follow them. That is, when they also did likewise, they were also treated the same way. كَذَلِكَ نَفْعَلُ بِالْمُجْرِمِينَ. That is how we deal with criminals. That's what we have done in the case of the nations of messengers, and that is what we are going to do in the case of all criminals on the day of judgment. What these nations received was meant to be a lesson, to be a source of pondering, reflection for the rest of the people. وَيْلٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ لِلْمُكَذِّبِينَ. Woe that day to the rejectors of truth. That is, they're all going to be cursed. This is a recurring verse that we find in this surah appearing quite a few times. The same way as we found in Surah Al-Qamar and Surah Ar-Rahman, that there were verses, the same verse getting repeated over and over again. Then we move on to Surah 78, which is Surah An-Naba, where the Almighty is asking that the kind of facilities, perks that you find in this life for you to be able to live properly, their presence, they ask this question. They force you to think about the fact that if these facilities, these blessings are being given to you free of any charge, do you think that it's for no reason? Are you not going to be asked about how you utilized them? How did you benefit from them, and what was your behavior? So, starts from verse 6, Alam naj'alil arda mihada. Have we not made the earth a level ground, which is for the purpose of resting? Wal jibala utada. And have we not made the mountains as pegs, like tents have their pegs to hold them? Wa khalaqnakum azwaja. And we created you in pairs, male, female. Wa ja'alna nawmakum subata. And we made your sleep a means of rest for you to overcome your fatigue. وَجَعَلْنَا اللَّيْلَ لِبَاسًا. And made the night a clothing for you. وَجَعَلْنَا النَّهَارَ مَعَاشًا. And made the day an occasion for livelihood, so that you can live and earn. وَبَنَيْنَا فَوْقَكُمْ سَبْعًا شِدَادًا. and we constructed above you 7 strong heavens, skies. وَأَنزَلْنَا مِنَ وَجَعَلْنَا سِرَاجًا وَهَّاجًا, and we made therein a burning lamp. وَأَنزَلْنَا مِنَ الْمُعْصِرَاتِ مَاءً ثَجَّاجًا, and sent down from the rain clouds pouring water. لِنُخْرِجَ بِهِ حَبًّا وَنَبَاتًا, so that we may bring forth from the water, through it getting down to the soil, grain and vegetation. وَجَنَّاتٍ أَلْفَافًا, and gardens of thick growth. All this points to the fact, Inna yawm al-fasli kana miqata. Indeed, the day of judgment is an appointed time. Appointed time. In other words, the Almighty is saying that how can you imagine that with all these blessings that you have been getting, you're not even going to be asked about how you made use of them? Something that has been mentioned in Surah Takathur towards the end. ثُمَّ لَتُسْأَلُنَّ يَوْمَئِذٍ عَنِ النَّعِيمِ. Then most certainly you're going to be asked about the blessings that you had. How did you make use of them? So after this, we move on to the next pair, which is Surahs 79 and 80, An-Nazi'at and Abasa. We first take Surah An-Nazi'at, Surah number 79, wherein the Almighty is asking the leaders of Quraysh, do they think that they're not going to be held accountable? And is it that they have this attitude, feeling simply because they are rich, powerful, and therefore they believe that nothing can happen to them? In order to wake them up, make them think about the fact that what they are enjoying now in the form of the blessings of life and their power, it can all be destroyed. So the Quran says, "Hal ataka hadith Musa." Have you not, has the story of Moses not reached you? It's a question in surprise. I mean, how is it that you are behaving arrogantly like Pharaoh did? Did you not hear about that story? Is nadahu rabbuhu bil wadil muqaddasi tuwa. When his Lord called to him, that is Moses, bil wadil muqaddasi tuwa, in the sacred valley of Tuwa. He said to him, Izhab ila Firaun innahu tagha. You go to Pharaoh. He has transgressed. He has crossed all limits. Faqul. So say to him, Allaka ila an tazakka. Would you be willing to purify yourself? Purification is the ultimate goal of the religious message. That is, you purify yourself and you will be eligible for the paradise. You allow your soul to be contaminated, to be rendered filthy, and you're going to be destroyed. So Pharaoh was given this option, this invitation. Do you want to get purified? And what's going to be the process of purification? Moses said, I'll show you the way to your Lord. I'll introduce you to him, his attributes, who he is, what his plan is, fatakhsha, so that you fear him. In other words, to fear God, you need to know him. Once you know him, his attributes, you'll start fearing him. That is, you will start fearing the possibility of annoying him, of doing things which he doesn't like. So what happened is that we showed him great signs. But he denied and disobeyed. ثم أدبر يسعى. Then he turned his back and he made earnest effort to counter the potential imminent threat of Moses. فحشر, and he gathered people. فنادى, and he called out to his people. فقال أنا ربكم الأعلى, and he said, I am your Lord, exalted Lord. When somebody reaches that level of arrogance, it's absolutely clear that his demise, downfall, is just round the corner. فَأَخَذَهُ اللَّهُ نَكَالَ الْآخِرَةِ وَالْأُولَى. So God seized him in an exemplary punishment for those who were present at that time and for the people to come later. It was a big punishment. He was seized by the Almighty. Inna fi zalika, indeed in it, in this story, la ibratan liman yakhsha, there is a warning for whoever would fear God. Then the Quran goes on to ask these people uh, who used to wonder, how is there going to be another day when all humans are going to come back to life? How is it possible? So the Quran asks, Antum ashaddu khalqan amis sama? Are you more difficult to create and to recreate? Amis sama, or is the heaven more difficult? Banaha, he raised it, constructed it. Rafa samkaha, he raised its ceiling. Fasawaha, and proportioned it, perfected it. Wa'aghdasha laylaha, and he darkened its night. Wa'akhraja duhaha, and brightened its day. Wal arda ba'da zalika, and the earth after that, dahaha, he leveled it, he spread it. Akhraja minha, he extracted from it. Ma'aha wa mar'aha, its water and its greenery, pasture. Wal jibala arsaha, and the mountains, he set them firmly. Why? Mata'allakum wa li'anamikum, as a provision for you as well as for your livestock. That is, to enable you to live in this world comfortably, properly, and to be able to also let your animals, your livestock live, so that through them you extract more benefits, you put them in service. However, all this, when it's present for you, is an indication that you're going to be held accountable for all these benefits as to how you utilize them. Therefore, فَإِذَا جَاءَتِ الطَّامَّةُ الْكُبْرَى, when there will come the great overwhelming calamity, يَوْمَ يَتَذَكَّرُ الْإِنسَانُ مَا سَعَى, that day man will remember, will recall what he used to do. He'll recall his efforts, the efforts that he undertook, and they all went waste. This surah is partnered by the next surah, Surah Abasa, which is talking about a particular incident which happened in the life of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in the early Meccan period, when the Prophet was trying to preach to the leaders of Quraysh, and he was devoted to that task, as indeed he always was in what he was doing. When in came a companion who had already believed, Abdullah ibn Maktoum was blind. This blind companion, a poor man, didn't realize what the situation was. He didn't see the gravity of the situation, obviously, because he was blind. Uh, and the Prophet was he was distracted, and he was worried also that when he was talking to the people of Quraysh, when this man would come, they're going to make fun of him, and it's going to be, kind of a distraction. So Quran says, "Abasa wa tawalla." He, that is the Prophet, frowned and turned away. Anja'ahul ama, because there came to him the blind man, interrupting. وَمَا يُدْرِيكَ لَعَلَّهُ يَزَّكَّى. But, O Prophet, what would make you think that he actually might be purified? He might get purified. You know, if he had come to you, it may have been that he was the one who was worthy of your attention. He might have gotten purified, which is what the purpose is. أَوْ يَزَّكَّرُ. Or even if he would not have gotten purified immediately, he would have listened to the reminder carefully. فَتَنْفَعُ zikra, and that remembrance would have benefited him. Amma man istaghna. As for those people who are not paying heed, they're not interested. فَأَنْتَ لَهُ تَصَدَّى. You are paying full attention to them. وَمَا عَلَيْكَ. Even though it's not your responsibility, Allah yazzakka, that they are not purified. There'll be no blame on you. فَأَمَّا مَنْ جَاءَكَ يَسَعَى. But as for he who comes to you, striving for knowledge, for guidance, وَهُوَ يَخْشَى, and he fears God as well, فَأَنْتَ عَنْهُ تَلَاهَا. From him, you get distracted. Allah, no. Don't ignore this man, and don't pay unnecessary attention, too much of attention to them. Inna tazkira. Indeed, these verses are a reminder. Faman Shah Zakara. So whoever wills may remember it, may get reminded through it. That is, it's not something which is meant for either the rich or the poor. It is potentially available for everyone. But only those people are going to benefit from it who are interested in knowing the truth and to get guided. It doesn't matter whether the person who's interested is rich or poor, powerful or weak. And the Prophet, his job is to focus on the needs of those who are interested. Those who are not interested, God is not interested in them getting guided. You have to show your interest first, and then the Almighty is going to oblige. Then we move on to the next pair, which is Surah At-Takwir and Al-Infatar, 81 and 82. These two surahs have a striking similarity with each other, as indeed all surah pairs have. But in this case, the similarity is pretty much obvious. Both talk about the incidents, happenings leading to the Day of Judgment. Well, the beginning part of the Day of Judgment, when the trumpet is going to be blown. So Surah Takwir says and describes it in more detail. Is a shamsu kuvvirat, when the sun is going to be wrapped up. Waizan nujumun kadarat, and when the stars are going to disperse. وَإِذَا الْجِبَالُ سُيِّرَتْ, and the mountains are going to just be removed. They start floating. وَإِذَا الْعِشَارُ عُطِّلَتْ, and when a full-term she camel is going to be neglected, a camel pregnant for 10 months is going to be neglected. That is, this she camel was very valuable for the Arabs. They would take extra care of it. But on the day of judgment, when the calamity is going to befall, people are going to forget about all their assets, even valuable ones. وَإِذَا الْوُحُوشُ حُشِرَتْ, and when the beasts are all going to come together, they're not, they're going to forget about their enmities. It's going to be such a hazard, disastrous happening, that they'll forget about everything else and will all be worried about their survival. وَإِذَا الْبِحَارُ سُجِّرَتْ, and when the seas will be filled with flame. وَإِذَا النُّفُوسُ زُوِّجَتْ, and when the souls are going to be paired, they will fall into different categories. وَإِذَا الْمَوْءُودَةُ سُئِلَتْ, and when the girl would be asked, the girl that was buried alive, she will be asked, بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ قُتِلَتْ, for what sin was she killed? In other words, on that day, when the judgment is going to start, the first of the cases that are going to be taken for being heard are the cases of those people who were weak and vulnerable and were badly exploited. What was the fault of that girl who was buried alive? Obviously, what it means is that the people who caused it to happen are going to be held accountable and not going to be spared, as well as all those people who exploited others because of their weakness. They're going to be asked, what was their fault? And then obviously those people were responsible for causing those pains and tragedies to take place, they are going to be held accountable and are going to be punished adequately, properly. وَإِذَا الصُّحُفُ نُشِرَتْ, and when the pages are going to be made public, the pages of the record of performances are going to be made public to everyone. People would see the performances of each other. وَإِذَا السَّمَاءُ كُشِطَتْ, and when the sky is going to be stripped away, it's going to be reddened. وَإِذَا الْجَحِيمُ سُعِّرَتْ, and when hellfire is going to set ablaze. وَإِذَا الْجَنَّةُ أُزْلِفَتْ, and when the paradise is going to be brought near. It's then, on that day, عَلِمَتْ نَفْسٌ مَا أَحْضَرَتْ, all souls are going to know what they have brought with them. That is, what exactly was their performance that they have brought forth to the day of judgment to present for them to be rescued from punishment and to be eligible for reward. That day they would know that the life that they have left behind was a life of trial. And if at all there was anything valuable in that life, genuinely, were the good deeds, which they will find on that day. The partner pair of this, the partner surah of this surah is Surah al-Infatar, which has a very similar beginning. It says, is a samaun fatarat, when the sky is going to break apart. وَإِذَا الْكَوَاكِبُ انْتَثَرَتْ, and when the stars are going to fall, scattered. وَإِذَا الْبِحَارُ فُجِّرَتْ, and when the seas are going to erupt. وَإِذَا الْقُبُورُ بُعْثِرَتْ, And when the graves are going to throw out, that is, whatever is therein is going to be brought out. Alimat nafsun ma qaddamat wa akharat. Every soul on that day would know what it brought forth and what it left behind. It left behind all the assets, all the uh, all the good things that they used to enjoy. Uh, Everything would be, it would all be behind them. But they would also realize that they have left behind the opportunities to do good deeds, and they would know what they have put across, what they've brought with them. That is, that day they will realize that the life they left behind was simply a test, and the only thing that would matter is their good deeds. And there were lots of opportunities of good deeds that they left behind. Ya ayyuhal insan, O man, O mankind, ma gharraka, what has deceived you, birabbikal kareem, about your generous Lord? How did you how do you come to this conclusion that whatever you're getting is what you deserved and there's going to be no accountability? What caused you to be deceived? Allazi khalaqaka, your Lord who created you, fasawwaka, then he proportioned you, fa'adalak, and he balanced you. The personality that he gave you is a balanced personality in appearance, in your body, as well as inside you in your personality, provided you if you use it properly. في أي سورة ما شاء ربك ركبك, in whatever form he willed, he has assembled you. In whatever features he wanted to provide you, he has provided them to you. Allah, no. Bal, instead. That is, no, it's not that the life hereafter is not understandable. There are no arguments for it. That's not the case. Bal, instead, the truth is, tukazzibuna bid-deen. You were bent upon denying accountability. Man doesn't want to accept accountability. Because if you start accepting the understanding, the notion of accountability, the day of judgment, then this life has to become disciplined. We have to put checks on our inclinations, which man doesn't want to do, because there's so much of opportunity to do wrong, to do evil, to enjoy and enjoy unreasonably, that man does not like the idea of accountability, and therefore he rejects and presents lame, silly, weak excuses. وَإِنَّ عَلَيْكُمْ لَحَافِظِينَ. But oh man, you don't know. While you are denying the process of accountability, there are keepers upon you, kiraman katibin, noble, who are recording, making note of what you're doing. Yalamuna ma tafalun. They know whatever you do. After this pair, we then move on to the next pair, which is the pair of Surah al-Mutaffifin and Surah al-Inshiqaq. These are Surahs 83 and Surah 84. In these surahs, again, what we find is the mention of both the arguments for the day of judgment as well as the description of that day. That's what these surahs are doing. So we first take Surah al-Mutaffifin, Surah number 83. It says, Wailul lil mutaffifin. Woe to those who give less than what is due. Allazina is aktalu ala nas. Those, when they take measure from people, when they're buying something and making a payment for it, yastawfun, they ask the full value of it. However, وَإِذَا كَالُوهُمْ أَوْ وَزَنُوهُمْ, but if they give by measure or by weight, يُخْسِرُونَ, they give less. أَلَا يَظُنُّ أُولَٰئِكَ أَنَّهُمْ مَبْعُوثُونَ, do they not think that they will be resurrected? لِيَوْمٍ عَظِيمٍ, for a big, tremendous day. يَوْمَ يَقُومُ النَّاسُ لِرَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ, the day people will stand before the Lord, Lord of the worlds, that is for accountability. So the idea is that the Almighty is mentioning that man knows what is right and what is wrong. It's because of this reason, when a man purchases something from others, he asks for full value of it. But when he himself sells, he doesn't give the full value, the full measure, the full weight. Had giving less to others been the right thing to do, he would have allowed and asked others to also give him less than what he is paid for. But he doesn't do it. It's not just in the case of trade, it's in the case of every aspect of human life. We expect from others a good behavior, justice, etc. But when it comes to our part of performance, we don't give others uh, whatever we expect others to do to us. You know, the famous golden principle, do unto others what you expect others to do unto you. Man doesn't do it, although he knows what is right from what is wrong in every aspect of human life. But the Almighty goes on to mention something important in this surah, the later part, where he says that in verse 12, وَمَا يُكَذِّبُ بِهِ إِلَّا كُلُّ مُعْتَدٍ أَثِيمٍ. When such people are presented with the message of the Almighty, they reject it. The Quran says, and nobody rejects it except those who are sinful transgressors, who go beyond limits. إِذَا تُتْلَى عَلَيْهِ آيَاتُنَا, when our verses are recited before them, قَالَ, they say, أَسَاطِيرُ الْأَوَّلِينَ, it's just stories, legends of the former people. There's nothing true about it. Stories people keep telling. Kalla, no, they're not stories. They're not legends which are baseless. Bal, instead what has happened is, Rana ala qulubihim, their hearts have been covered with rust. Ma kanu yaksibun, stain and rust because of what they have been doing, because of their frauds that they committed, because of their misdeeds. That is what has caused them not to be interested in knowing what the truth of the next life is. So, you know, their evil acts, their morally poor performance has made them incapable of appreciating what is right from what is wrong and appreciating the message of the Almighty. The next surah is Surah al-Inshiqaq, which is surah number 84. It begins by saying, is a samaun shaqqat, when the sky will be split open, wa azinat li rabbiha, and it will be split open because it will respond to its Lord, wa huqqat, and that's what it should do. I mean, the Lord of the sky would ask the sky to split open, and the sky would oblige. What else should it do? It's, in other words, it's a message, subtle message to humans that that's what the right behavior is. Your creator is demanding a certain behavior from you. How is it that you would not oblige? وَإِذَا الْأَرْضُ مُدَّتْ, And imagine the time when the earth will be leveled, extended, وَأَلْقَتْ مَا فِيهَا, and is going to cast out ma fiha, what is within it, وَتَخَلَّتْ, and it's going to be empty, relinquished. وَأَذِنَتْ لِرَبِّهَا, and it would respond to its Lord. وَحُقَّتْ, and that would be the most appropriate, befitting behavior. Ya ayyuhal insan, O man, innaka kadihun ila rabbika kadhan. You are toiling, laboring towards your Lord, famulaqi, and you're going to meet him. What it is saying is that, humans, they, no matter who they are, no matter what they're doing, whether people are rich or poor, they're mighty or weak, they're good or evil, no matter what religion, what nation they belong to, they're very different and diverse. But one thing is common to all of them. No matter what they're doing, they share the same journey. They are all gradually moving towards their end, and they're going to meet their Lord. So that's really an important reminder, a message that, you may have different objectives in life, but we all humans, we're actually traveling on let's say, a train, a vehicle, which is going to the same destination, which is Famulaqi. We're going to meet our Lord. So that's something which the Quran reminds us. فَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ بِيَمِينِهِ, then as for the one who will be given his record on his right hand, فَسَوْفَ يُحَاسَبُ حِسَابًا يَسِيرًا, he'll be judged with an easy process of accountability. وَيَنْقَلِبُ إِلَىٰ أَهْلِهِ مَسْرُورًا, and he'll return to his people happily. So there are going to be two types of accountabilities. One stringent, strict, and the other easy, depending upon what was the attitude of the individual. If the individual was himself fearing God, forgiving, kind to others, trying to understand the truth as best as was possible, the Almighty is going to overlook the small, small sins. But if the person was stubborn, was arrogant, was hard on others, was not inclined to know the truth, then the process of accountability is going to be difficult and stern. The last pair that we take up for today is the pair of surahs 85 and 86. So we take Surah 85, Surah al-Buruj first. These two surahs again are forming a pair. It says, وَالسَّمَاءِ ذَاتِ الْبُرُوجِ, by the sky, and that sky having the places of security. You see, in the earlier days, the cities would be surrounded by walls. They used to be walled cities because of the security concerns. So on top of these walls would be security guards, always vigilant, looking for the enemy, or the robbers, etc., who potentially were around to cause harm to the security of the city. Likewise, the Almighty tells us that He has created this sky, which also has a similar system of security, particularly for the message of the Almighty when it comes down through angels, so that these evil satanic jinns are not able to take away some part of the message and create a mess, confusion. So the Almighty is presenting this security system as as an evidence. Wal yawmil ma'ud, and the promised day, that too is an evidence. For shahidim wa mashhud, and the witness and what is witnessed. They're all going to be evidences, and the reality that they are going to give evidence for is Qutila Ashabul Ukhdud, that the day of judgment is going to come, and the companions of the trench are going to be cursed. Those who are going to be thrown in that trench. An-nari zatil waqud. You know what that trench is? It's going to contain fire full of fuel. Izhum alayha qud, when they will be sitting near it. That is, before being thrown into it, they will sit on the sides of those trenches and see their fate, the impending fate. وَهُمْ عَلَى مَا يَفْعَلُونَ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ الشُّهُودِ. And what they did to the believers, against the believers, they will witness. That is, they will see the consequences of what they did to these believers whom they were torturing. وَمَا نَقَمُوا مِنْهُمْ إِلَّا يُؤْمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ الْعَزِيزِ الْحَمِيدِ. And they did not go against them except because they believed in God, the exalted in might, the praiseworthy. Imagine what a strange thing they did, that the believers in the mighty God, the Creator, they were torturing them. Why? Because they believed in Him. Living in His world with the might of the Almighty potentially there to destroy them, and they were involved in causing harm to people who believed in their Creator, uh, because it just went against their point of view, their faith. They were torturing the believers of the mighty Creator, Allazi lahu mulku samawati wal ard, the one to whom belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth. Wallahu ala kulli shay'in shaheed, and God is a witness to everything. That is, He is watching, and He's going to take care of everything that's happening. إن الذين فتنوا المؤمنين والمؤمنات ثم لم يتوبوا فلهم عذاب جهنم ولهم عذاب الحريق. Indeed, those who have tortured the believing men and believing women and then have not repented will have the punishment of hell, and they will have the punishment of the burning fire. إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات. On the other hand, those who believe and do good deeds, لهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار. They're going to have gardens as rewards, underneath which rivers are going to flow. ذلك الفوز الكبير. That is going to be indeed a great victory, great achievement. Then the partner surah of Surah Al-Buruj is Surah al-Tariq, Surah number 86. It says, وَالسَّمَاءِ وَالطَّارِقِ وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا الطَّارِقِ النَّجْمُ الثَّاقِبِ. The sky and the night comer is an evidence. And what will make you know what is that what that night comer is? In kullu nafsin an-najmu thaqib. It's a star. It's a star that brightens up after being not invisible, after it's not there in appearance. It just appears at night. In kullu nafsin lamma alayha hafiz. Likewise, there is no soul, but that it has a protector, it has somebody who is there to make note of your performance. What it means is that, why are you doubting the fact that there are angels who are there making a note of whatever you're doing? Are you denying them because you can't see them? Is it not that you've got enough of evidence of similar realities which are there, but you don't see them? A case in point are the stars. At daytime, they're not there, they're not visible, and then they appear. So, likewise, when there's going to come the time for the angels to appear, they will appear. So, I mean, is it really a very bright, intelligent idea that you say no to things which you don't see simply because they're not visible? فَلْيَنْظُرِ الْإِنسَانُ مِمَّا خُلِقَ. Man becomes arrogant, and that is why he starts behaving in this unreasonable way, rejecting, denying the system of the Almighty. So let man see from what he has been created. خُلِقَ مِن مَّاءٍ دَافِقٍ. He was created from a fluid, ejected. يَخْرُجُ مِن بَيْنِ الصُّلْبِ وَالتَّرَائِبِ. Emerging from between the backbone and the ribs. Such an ordinary beginning. And then he becomes a man, grown up, strong, with vision, with hearing ability, and speaks. إِنَّهُ عَلَى رَجْعِهِ لَقَادِرٌ. Indeed, God is going to be able to make him return. That is, the way he has been able to create man in such an amazing way, the same way he is going to cause them to be recreated. يَوْمَ تُبْلَى السَّرَائِرُ. When he's going to be recreated on that day, all secrets are going to be put on trial. All that humans do, they're going to be held accountable for it. فَمَا لَهُ مِنْ قُوَّةٍ وَلَا نَاصِرٍ. Then man will have no power and nobody to help. فَالسَّمَاءِ ذَاتِ الرَّجْعِ. The sky which pours down water, وَالْأَرْضِ ذَاتِ الصَّدْعِ. And the earth which cracks open to enable crops to grow. They are both an evidence of the fact that إِنَّهُ لَقَوْلٌ فَصْلٌ. This is a statement, a claim, which is decisive. It is bound to happen. Like these crops emerge, humans are going to emerge, and the day of judgment is going to come. وَمَا هُوَ بِالْحَزْلِ. It's not a joke, it's not an amusement. إِنَّهُمْ يَكِيدُونَ كَيْدًا. These people, they are planning a plan, a secret plan, a prophet against you. But وَأَكِيدُ كَيْدًا. I am also planning a plan. So they are planning against you to destroy you and your mission. But they don't realize that I am also planning secretly to cause all their plans to be destroyed. So these people are not aware of it because they are short-sighted. They can only see what is apparent, what is visible. They don't want to see, they can't see what is not visible. So when that's the case, when that's the truth, فَمَهِّلِ الْكَافِرِينَ. O Prophet, just allow time to the disbelievers. أَمْهِلْهُمْ رُوَيْدًا. Leave them for a while. That is, leave them to do what they are doing for a while. We are putting them on a trial. They've got to be given chances. So while they are availing their chance, and maybe some of them might reform, you wait, you be patient. When you are sure that what you're doing is the right thing from your Lord, then just patiently wait for their end. Their end is around the corner. Your success is also waiting for you. It's only a matter of time. And when the time approaches, then the Almighty is going to implement his decision without any further wait. May the Almighty enable us to understand the Quran properly and to follow it to the best of our abilities.